Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Electrical Theology. I am away from the home today. I'm down here in Florida. I just got back from the beach, but I figured I'd make you a quick video to keep up with the Thursday's class, the Realms of Expanding Consciousness plus the Universal Grid. And they're sort of the same thing. This is Electrical Theology, Esoteric Life Coaching. I am your host, Charles. I appreciate you showing up, guys. And the beach weather was nice today, and we'll be here for a couple weeks, and then we'll get back. But I'll try to make a video every day. But for now, we're going to continue on with the grids as we left off last time. And again, this leads to Friday's class where we're just trying to manifest. We need to understand that this Shambhala hierarchy, God, and how we expand those pans is all. Pan means all that is, or all that is not. And the ions are just energy. So all that energy is and is not. Does that make sense? And so when we expand the whole, we then express. So what we are in right now in this world, not that world anymore, but that is within this world. And that may sound confusing, but this is what we're going to get into today, is that there's gears within gears within gears, right? We can go down to 7 gears, we can go to 9 gears, but we're going to keep it simple with 3 or 4 gears. And the idea is just to get the gears moving, or the ions flowing, that then have both transmitters and receivers, or little antennas on them that are trying to communicate with other ions, that they are taking orders from me, right? The universe is unformed, and it's just a whole bunch of ions sitting around in the Shambhala field, if you will, or the ionic field. And it's up to me or you, all of us, to then transmit with deep focus, devotion, and boldness. Right? If you cannot do that, then you're going to get exactly the frequency of which you transmitted. Right? And so you're sending out a weak signal, so the ions get programmed for, okay, let's form a weak signal. So I'm just here to show you of these realms. Again, you see the grid behind all this stuff. That's what we need to focus on, because that is the realms of expanding consciousness and or the universal structure. How that this Shambhala all comes in to when we talk about Friday's class is about manifesting, about bringing something, creating something out of no-thingness, right? I know the lighting's not the best out here today, but I just hopped out of the shower, so I'm a little fuzzy myself. But anyway, we want to get in within the gear, within the gears, within gears. And we talked about this last week about the universal grid and the 7 frequencies. And again, this is going to be the same grid we use, or that we can turn into a whole bunch of things within the universe. Just like feng shui can be thrown over a car, a house, a garden, because it's using the same grid, right? The ancient grid. And so I'm showing you in simple form this grid called Realms of Expanding Consciousness, or the secret grid, same thing. All right. Again, we can turn it into the tarot, right? But first, we have to understand, before we even understand or trying to understand or even know the tarot and all of its types of arcs or archetypes. It's arcane, which is just arc, right? Or there's major arcs and minor arcs, and a whole bunch of arcs in between, major and minors. But we need to understand that when you create a thought from no thing, bringing it in from the no thing into something, in order to have that something come into this thing world, then we need to understand how to incept those ions, or create, or begin, or whatever synonym you want to use there, guys. And then we have to spiral those energies, right? That's what the ions in the Shambhala realm are doing. They're starting to spiral because they're being arced, which then creates electromagnetism, which is, again, attracting, it's your thoughts attracting what it is you want. But it has to attract it from the unformed before it gets to the form. So when it does show up, you can say, okay, that's what I was forming. And we've been over this chart a bunch, but we want to get into the sort of understanding. Let me go one more. We need to understand that the esoteric tarot, and again, I'm just adding I'm just adding tarot, because the tarot is just another manifestation of how this grid can turn into a car, a house, cards with ink on them, or called tarot, or mathematics, or science, or anything else. Right? They're all coming from the same grid. They're coming from this triangle and the receiving triangle, which is the old symbol for feminine, and then the transmitter, which is the old symbol for masculine or male. And so when male and female get together, they create energy, right? Every cell in your body has a male and female side, or a transmitter receiver. Making sense now? So we just need to take a brief look at the macro. Again, in tarot, this is called the major arcana, or arcana, depending on how you want to pronounce it, from the north or south. But the major arcana is just major arcs, right? Just keep that in mind. And so the macro is a major arcana. And with the blueprint, we go back to the cosmic blueprint. This is just a blueprint. Nothing's been formed yet. Right? I can't call it tarot. I can't call it realms. I can't call it anything because we haven't labeled it. When it comes to thingness, we label it. We're not attached to the label. We just understand that we need to have an identifying marker. But we also know that this is just energy flowing. And so if this gear down here in the bottom left is turning, then it's going to make this gear above it turn the opposite way, and the one above that turns the opposite. Makes sense? Don't get so depth into that right now, but we need to understand that when we start turning these gears, we're turning or spiraling energy from the no thing. When the no thing expands, then it starts spiraling. That's the inspiration, the second tarot, right? The high priestess is another name for it. But we need to understand that these are just macro and minor turns. So the blueprint that we showed, these blueprints, this blueprint is when we do add it to the tarot, this is a fixed blueprint, right? Nothing's fixed, but just for this conversation, let's just say this is a fixed blueprint. And as I lay the tarot down on here in a random sequence, right? We'll just pick any of these numbers. We'll say the Justice card here in the middle. The Justice is the solid blueprint, the realm. What comes out of that realm or portal depends on what we're transmitting or what it is we put in order or what is our thoughts or our desired state, right? What do you want in this life? So this major fixed arcana, when I lay a card on top of it, let's say we're just using the 21 tarot, when I lay, let's say, the Emperor on Justice, right? I take my deck, and we'll get into this more on Tuesday or on Wednesday with the tarot, but I can just do a reading simply by laying a card on any of these, right, depending on where that card falls, or I can fill them all up with the 21. And all the 21 will be in a random. But we got to start with one thing first. So let's just say on the Justice card, Justice is just, it's stressful success because you're taking a new turn. You're going out and starting dating again after a divorce, or after your business failed, you want to start a new business. So there's this sort of getting out of the old patterns and sort of introducing new patterns after the Wheel of Fortune. And when you do, you're sort of going to have this Justice card, right, or a Libra, where things are trying to balance themselves out. And so we do have some of the old ways and new ways coming into this framework. But anyway, this is Justice. So let's say I throw that Emperor on top. Well, Emperor is a number 4 card. So where am I within the Justice? And what am I having to deal with? Well, if the Emperor card, which is number 4, which is actually below it, I'm on the 4th position within the Justice Major Arcana blueprint. That makes sense? So this is fixed, right? And then randomly I'm going to do a reading. I'll throw a card out, and we'll get into how or why I'm putting this card on the Justice, right? It could be any one of these, but I'm just sticking with one card. But normally I can throw all 21 cards out. And then that tells me the major minor rotation of that blueprint or that manifestation that's coming in through the portals or the realms, right? Hopefully this isn't too confusing. If it is, leave me a comment below, guys, and I'll explain it easier. So the Father or Emperor card stands for dominance, action, right? Authority. So I have to take authority over what I'm feeling, and maybe as injustice, or I'm feeling that this is stressful, but I know my motives moving forward will help me become who I am. And how do I know that? Because the next card after Justice is the Hangman, meaning individuation. right? I individuate my ions from everyone else's finally. And then I put it in the death card. But the point is where am I within justice? What else do I have to do to get this justice to move on to myself? How do I get to myself? Well, I have to go, I'm on the fourth position. It means I have to take dominance. I have to take action within that justice. So I'm not going to sit back and become the victim of the justice system. I'm going to be proactive within that justice system, right? I'm going to go fight for that cause. I'm going to fight for my position. Right? If you're going through a divorce and there's custody over kids, right, and that husband may be dominating you, well, it's up to you to dominate your position, right, and claim it what you want, right? And get the authority and education. It's up to you to go find that information. You got to take the action. Does it make sense? Now I can take the minor deck, the minor arcana, ruffle and shuffle those cards up, pick a card and throw it on top of this Emperor card that's on top of the Justice fixed grid. All right? We'll go over this a whole lot more, and I'll have special classes for this as well. That y'all can get into later on, but right now we just got to, this is all foundational. So we can get the gears turning, the spiraling, so then we can bring those ions so then they can attract what it is you do want, choose, and desire in this life. So I can throw a minor card. Let's say I throw the Five of Swords. Swords are all about the mind. It's all about thinking, right? So that's a minor card. So where am I within the Emperor? Then I can look at the, I'm on the fifth position on the fourth card of the Emperor that's in the justice system, right, or the justice card, right? So justice card fixed, Emperor on top. So that's going to be our major minor. The Father or Emperor card is major minor because the major is the grid. So I threw another card, so it's still major, but it's the minor within the major. And when I throw the third card on top of this, it's going to be a minor card. So now I'm going into the minor, and then I'm going to have a macro minor, right? So right now we have the macro fixed and then macro minor, and then we're going to have the micro. The third card is going to be called the micro, and again, if I throw a fourth one, it's micro minor. So the third card I'm throwing in is a fifth card of swords. Fifth of swords are guys fighting with swords, right? That means there's a whole lot of legal talk, a whole lot of legal jargon that's got to be dealt with, right? And again, you got to take dominance over it. Confuse it. So on the fifth card, so how do we get out of the fifth minor to go up? Again, this is like a clockwork. In order to get out of the major fixed to go into the next major fixed over here, the hangman, I have to find out where I'm at within that justice card. What else do I need to do? Well, the Father or Emperor card tells me I have to take action, right? I got to take authority over my life, and I need to stand up and state what it is I want. Now, where am I within stating what it is I want? Am I fully there yet? What else do I need to do to get confidence? Do I need to hire better lawyers or what? So when I get the Five of Swords, I know there's going to be a lot more legal battle. But the Six of Swords coming out is that we're beginning to clean up that mess. So you know when you start pushing forward that your problems are going to start solving quicker and quicker because you took the right action. And when you took the right action with authority, then the other party is going to hear you, right, and know that you know business. So then you can move on to the 6th, 7th, and when I go through the 14th and the minor, then that clicks me up a notch. So I go from the Father or the Emperor to the High Priestess, right, which is going to be traditions. Is this making sense, guys? So we just slowly start turning those gears. And so to give you, again, the macro, macro minor, micro, micro minor. So the macro is the fixed. The card I lay on top of the fixed is the macro minor. And then the third card I can throw on top of that is the micro, and then the micro minor if I need further explanation. Right now, our card's pretty clear. Take action. It's up to you. Do you want them kids? Do you want that job? Do you want that business? And you got to take action. So this is just a gear within gear within gears, right? Just symbols so our heads can get that these are ions turning. And they're trying, this is receiving and transmitting, right? This gear turns that gear. So basically, this tarot turns that tarot, that turns that tarot, that turns that tarot. on this gear turning this way is going to turn the next gear the opposite. So it's alternating current, over, under, a wavelength, alternating current. So we need to push the energy or the ions forward if we want to keep going forward in our life and get a bigger panoptic perspective. All right? So hopefully this is giving you a little more clarity, and this is just the realms. Again, we're still just explaining the realms in Thursdays. And then we'll go ahead and put the practical applications here soon. But today this is going to be it. Hopefully the macros and the minors and all that help you understand a little bit better. Right? The gears are just turning. And then we'll eventually understand that these gears, the magician is just a gear. The muse is just a gear, our high priestess. The mother, the father, empress, emperor, the justice, right? It's about direction. You got to direct those ions, right? And then we move on to the hangman, which means we have to initiate ourselves. We got to initiate ourselves into who we are for the first time. And then we got to put an end to everything else. That's the death card, right? So hopefully this made a little bit of sense, guys. I look forward to you. I'll do another video tomorrow, Friday's video, and then I'll be here another week or so, and then I'll try to make videos every day, and then when I get back, we'll get back more to the private classes. If you want to, there are on Tuesday and Wednesday, there are extended classes. You can go on to moments.com. I have a link below. I'll put a link here as well. It can take you to those, and then you can get further readings on Tuesday or Wednesday's classes if you want more, right? And then we'll eventually be doing this more, and I will have private classes you're going to be able to take and explaining this, and I'll show you in the esoteric side and private memberships that we'll be able to access and manifest what it is or whatever you desire from your present state to desired state. All right? I appreciate you guys, and hopefully wherever you're at, it's sunny and warm. Because it is sunny and warm here. All right, take care.